the chamber, we cut them back to 25.
Actually, that chamber there is the EDC. There's a move on now to separate the EDC out from the chamber.
Economic development.
Right. It'll become basically kind of like the TDC.
What have they done for us?
What?
Well, we got a 6-year project out there. We hope sometime or other to have it.
That's what I'm saying. We've been working on that for 6 or 7 years now. What have they done for the county?
Well, I can tell you this from what little bit I've learned in the last 6, 7, 8 months. In these small counties like we've got, it's hard to get some of these companies come to us. For one thing, our targeted area, I believe, is medical, aerospace, type things like that. Requires quite a bit of expertise. We don't have that expertise here. We either need to get somebody in here where the government has to pay to train the employees, and hire them on and incentives like that. Because we've got a wonderful tech vocational school out here, but it's not geared up to train the kind of people that EDC is targeted for this area. And it's based on the military and the airports and things like that.
I don't know if he would be willing, but I know that there's a tremendous amount of behind-the-scenes work. Donnie, to answer your question, that takes charge, and I don't know if Mr. Jim Town would be willing to. He's more aware of it than I am to speak for, but I mean maybe Mr. Town could answer your question, Donnie, in a level that you need to be answered, where you'll have a comfort level.
Jim sits on the EDC committee. I do want to slow it down long enough to go ahead.
Okay. The simple answer is that the Economic Development Council and the Chamber are intertwined, and they have been for a number of years. To separate the economic development activity from the Chamber, what they've done is they fund the Economic Development Council separate from the Chamber dues. The Economic Development Council, those people pay extra dues for that function from the business community. And that provides an operating budget to go out and try to stay in tune with what's going on in Bay County and other counties. Do a very minimal amount of advertising, mainly telephone and face-to-face follow-up. The $25,000 is specifically earmarked for economic development, and the board last year approved the economic development element of the county comp plan. Part of that process was to develop a contract for services with a provider to do economic development, because the county doesn't have a department for economic development. And we've been going through the process, Commissioner Pate's been on that committee, to establish performance standards for that contract. And $25,000 doesn't begin to get to it. So to actually move economic development forward is going to take more money than that, but this year is not the year to talk about that. So what will come back to the board, I believe, is the performance standards that the Economic Development Council will meet in terms of producing an economic development activity on behalf of the county. And the Chamber, and I can't speak for them, but the Chamber is taking some of the budget that they normally allocate to the EDC and putting that with your $25,000 to begin to formalize an economic development activity within the county, which we've never really had before. Although over the years, you ask ask, what has the chamber done? Well, of course, and I haven't been here that many years, but, Walmart, it administers the CRAs, it administers the enterprise zones,
Tommy
the
McDonald
pipe
and all
project.
that, right.
Right, but it's all part of the same thing. And we really haven't had a spark plug through the chamber since Tommy died, other than Ted. And Ted has worked diligently, in spite of the fact that it's taken 6 years, to get Project Pipe to the point where it will increase the jobs in the county. In my mind, the biggest thing that's happened this year in economic development was preserving the 400 and some jobs out at West Point. That was a major undertaking between the Chamber of Commerce, the Foreign Trade Zone, which we're a part of out of Panama City, and the local management, Terry Ellis. So they participated very heavily in that. They have good liaison with what used to be OTED, the Office of Tourism and Economic Development, which is now called the Office of Department of Economic Opportunity. There are some grants that come through periodically because of activities by the Economic Development Council and the Chamber. So I think you're getting more than your money's worth, in my opinion. I don't know specifically, at one time they did. I don't know what level they're at this year. 0? Okay. So one of the things that's gonna come out of the economic development group when we get to the point of approving this contract is a countywide system where everyone will contribute according to their ability, and that will fund a greater effort. But more importantly, we've got to get across the county one set of legislation between these municipalities so that all the incentives are standardized across the county. So it's in an evolutionary state, but I think the county has received good benefit for the investment it's made for economic development. And that money, this upcoming year, is specifically dedicated within the chamber process to economic development. It has nothing to do with their membership functions. Did that answer the question? Yes. Or did I talk around it?
No, I still don't think they deserve 25,000.
How much is your future worth to you, for the county?
Well, I've
If
been
you
here
do
just
nothing,
I've been
you'll
here all
get
my
nothing.
life, and we still 40 years behind time.
Well, we can't
Everything
afford
we
to do
got.
much more than catch up, I agree, but somebody's gotta have the responsibility to do something.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Mr. Rob? Anything else? We can close this thing out, folks.
Close it out, meaning what?
If nobody has any more questions,
I got to. Oh, you fixing to close it? Yeah.
we're gonna sit here and look like frogs on a stump looking at each other?
Does this board feel comfortable now, not to cut you off, Mr. Brown? I feel 1/5 responsible to balancing the budget for this county. I can't do that without going through this thing. I mean, if y'all can, y'all are 100 times smarter than I can. I just never seen anything done quite like this, to be honest with you. For me to be responsible for this budget right here, I got to go through the thing. I'm sorry.
Now, you had that.
Friday.
July.
Okay. It's updated.
Yeah.
The changes. My understanding of this process, we had a budget committee, which I was no part of. Okay? Y'all was gonna make recommendations back to this board off of these things. Okay. And they've done that, okay?
That's what we've done.
Okay. Now, the budgets that changes that's been made of the proposed budget, I got Friday.
Right, Thursday.
Thursday. Okay, I got it Thursday. Okay. And my understanding at this meeting we was gonna go through this thing, and now I'm understanding we're not gonna go through it. Now, my question is, percentage and changes is what I had in my mind that I was gonna look at.
Mr. Abbott, I just said, we're not going, if we're gonna sit here without that on there, if the board, if whatever the board wants to do, we're gonna do it. But we're not gonna sit up here and go, just go out there and think,
Well, I don't wanna do that.
that's the reason I was going by and asking everybody. Mr. Carter.
I think what we need to do at this point is probably reschedule another budget meeting. Let Mr. Abbott go through each one of these and highlight where his opinions or whatever on each one of those, then come back in and narrow it down a lot.
Mr. Evan, do you have any questions on this?
I understand what we've got,
I understand what we got too.
but I also know that it's balanced as it is.
Yes, sir.
No contingency.
No, sir.
But I don't know where you're going to go back and get us a significant amount of contingency, you know,
Whatever.
to make a great deal, because I think I'm like Mr. Jordan there. I would have probably plugged in another $150,000 into legal, you know, and, we would have been out of budget. But what I'm saying, Mr. Abbott, is if you go through and line item those, it'll make it a lot simpler when we come back, just to hit those line items, because they're gonna be pretty consistently
Yeah.
all the way through each.
They are.